Hey, let me drop something here that'll probably cost me 3 subscribers, right? Maybe 6. Men do not love women unconditionally, okay? In human language, the word love is really just shorthand for sticking around someone or something because it provides benefits. We move toward pleasure and away from pain, always. The reason we love women, right? Translation, the reason we want to stick around the females of our species is because doing so gives us pleasure, right? And that pleasure is sexual stimulation in varying doses. You know, touching her hand is sexual stimulation. Catching a whiff of her perfume is sexual stimulation. Sleeping with her is sexual stimulation. If women didn't have women's bodies, men wouldn't be going out of their way to be near them. I mean, do men go out of their way to be near other men? No. No, if anything, they go out of their way to avoid and remove other men because being around male bodies triggers sexual disgust, not attraction. Also, men have to compete against one another to get to the woman, right? So, men detest one another because their bodies repel and also they compete against each other, right? To get to the woman, right? Again, we move toward pleasure and away from pain. Everything in this three-dimensional cause and effect universe has conditions. B happens because A happened. Causality 101. And the same goes for men's attraction to women. There's a specific condition that makes us want to be around them. Their bodies provide sexual gratification, and sexual gratification equals pleasure. Look, to achieve emotional stimulation, right? Emotional stimulation, we wouldn't filter our search by gender. We wouldn't say, I need a girlfriend. Emotional stimulation is something you can get from members of both genders. It's not that it's not that females can't give us emotional stimulation. For example, my mother is a female, obviously, and my mother does give me emotional support. That's true. But the point is, I don't call my mother my girlfriend, right? My mother is not my girlfriend. She's my mother. Because what it comes down to is whether or not I am getting sexual with her. I'm not getting sexual with my mother. So I don't classify that female in my life as my girlfriend. I classify her as my mother. Look, uh, I'm not saying that uh, because people are going to intentionally misrepresent my words. Okay, but I am not saying that men don't want emotional stimulation from their girlfriends. Of course they do. But the emptiness we feel without a woman in our lives isn't about missing emotional support. Okay? Again, the emptiness we feel without a woman in our lives is not about missing emotional support. Look, you could have two loving parents, all right? A loyal circle of male friends who back you up through everything, and still, if something still feels missing, if If there's still that itch under your skin, it's because a specific slot in your hierarchy of needs is sitting empty. And that slot is sexual stimulation. And the only way it gets filled is by the presence of a human being who happens to have a vagina between their legs. All right? It's no accident that the moment puberty hits, right? The moment puberty hits, we suddenly start moving with purpose to bring the opposite sex into our lives. When you're 7, you don't think, I need a girlfriend for companionship and emotional intimacy. You just think, I need friends. But after your endocrine system kicks in and starts pumping out sex hormones, your brain unlocks an entirely new layer of daydreams. Daydreams that revolve around the opposite sex, about having them in your life in a very specific, very physical way, right? At 7, I never felt incomplete. I never felt incomplete at 7 years old just because all my friends were boys. There was no tension, no ache. That only started later when I discovered that my dick has other purposes beyond just urinating. I mean, of course, if uh, telling yourself bedtime stories about pure love and men loving women unconditionally helps you sleep at night, then fine. Keep writing your fantasy novels. But in the real world, there is always a condition, right? And that condition is something women receive automatically at birth, right? Or more accurately, before birth, when their embryo develops into a female form, right? Women don't have to earn the condition that makes men want them. It is handed to them while they are still unconscious in the womb, right? It's an unearned lottery ticket. So, yes, men love women, but it's conditional, very much so. And that condition was met before she even took her first breath. Being born female is like you winning a lottery ticket you didn't even have to buy, right? Same way, me being 6'4" is a genetic gift I never worked for. I didn't earn my height through conscious effort. My DNA came preloaded with that code, right? Yes, my DNA having that code is an event, but when that event happened, I wasn't there to witness it. I wasn't consciously present for that event. My central nervous system, right, the thing that lets me experience life right now, was still under construction inside my mother's womb. So, same with women. Their DNA wrote the code for them to be female long before they ever took a breath. All the traits you're born with, your gender, skin color, height, place, and time of birth, set the difficulty level of your life before you even start playing. Okay? But don't get it twisted. Being tall as a man isn't anywhere near as big a win as being born female. Just being born a healthy female, meaning you've got a vagina, is 100 times more beneficial than being a tall male. Because the second you're born male, your position in the hierarchy is already dragged far down the ladder. As a tall man, you can only measure yourself against other men, your own kind, the Shudra class of society, in a reversed hierarchy. You will never cross the wall between the men's world and the women's world. And now, here is your homework. Don't expect me to spoon feed you all the answers. Uh, Drop a comment and tell me what you think this person got wrong.